It's Sunday, February 16th, 2026. It's the 46th day of the year, and we've got some absolutely wild weather on the way, including a severe weather threat taking aim at California and bringing flooding, rain, and more snow on the horizon. This is going to be one of those weeks that nobody sees coming. Let's get started by talking about this massive false spring that we're experiencing right now. We've been talking about this for multiple days, but it's genuinely nice outside. It feels incredible if you're not dealing with the rain or the tornadoes right now, which some of you are, by the way. There are tornado warnings currently active in Georgia. It's pretty amazing out there. We've got some rain, we've got some storms, but it's going to get even better tomorrow, and it's going to get even better as we go into the early part of this coming week. In fact, some places like Chicago could see highs in the 60s on Wednesday, shattering daily records, while Amarillo could be in the low 80s, and the Nebraska Panhandle could even get up into the 60s and 70s. And a lot of this warmth is going to really bubble up down here in the southeast. It's going to feel absolutely incredible in Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, and of course Florida and Texas over the next several days. But I'm going to give you one final warning here and then we'll move on. This is a false spring. Don't get used to it. We will have very cold air return before too long. But yeah, have fun in the sun while it lasts. Just to give you some perspective on the intensity of the warmth that we're dealing with here, this is actually somewhat of a heat wave that we're experiencing, especially on Tuesday into Wednesday. You know, whenever you see these kinds of returns on your temperature anomaly map in the summer, you're talking about life-threatening heat. Now, thankfully, we're in the winter, so it's just going to make it feel really nice and warm outside. But we're talking about 30 to 40 degrees above average in Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas, and even up there into portions of South Dakota and Minnesota. And then we've got more normal yet still above average temperatures spreading all the way over into the Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, and the Northeast. It's going to be less noticeable over there, but get ready for it. You can see we're going to have some below average temperatures in the extreme western portions of the United States. But whenever we get these warm temperatures in the central and southern part of the United States during winter, there's always a battleground that sets up between the natural cold air that wants to propagate farther south from Canada and this anomalous warm air bubble that we're dealing with further south. Where those two air masses meet, we often get storm systems. And we do expect to get a pretty robust one starting up later tonight into tomorrow, and then especially getting its act together from Tuesday into Wednesday, where we could be talking about some strong winds and some heavy snow up here in North Dakota, over into Minnesota, up there toward Canada as well. This actually might be a decent little snowstorm for some people as we go forward, even up there into the upper peninsula of Michigan. This is going to drop a pretty heavy burst of snow whenever it first starts. But you can see down south, we're going to have some rain and maybe even some thunderstorms. There's actually a day 3 general thunderstorm risk down here in Iowa and portions of Wisconsin and Illinois because there is going to be some convective activity that we have to watch out for here. And then I think as we push this even further into the future, you can see that we might actually be talking about some storms in the Ohio Valley as we go into Wednesday and Thursday. So I think that thunderstorm activity is going to be a big topic when it comes to this storm outside of the snow. Now, I don't think we're going to have a tornado outbreak or anything, but you will hear more from me. I would almost guarantee it about this potential for thunderstorms in Wisconsin, Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, maybe even down into Kentucky as we go forward. You can see that snow stripe is going to make it all the way up there into upstate New York over into southern portions of New England before this all fizzles out. You can literally see that warm air burst just slamming into the wall of cold air up here around Canada, and then everything just kind of fizzles out as the warm air is going to win this specific battle, but not for long. Like I said, we're dealing with a little bit of a false spring here. So once again, if you're in the upper peninsula of Michigan, watch out for a dangerous wintry mix. I think that's where some of the bigger impacts could happen. We could see a 1/4 inch of ice up there. But on top of that, we are talking about a general 3 to 6 inches of snow. Some places could get up to 8 inches of snow up there. Northern North Dakota, northern Wisconsin, and northeast portions of Minnesota. But you can see that the snow totals are a little bit lighter as you go over into the northeast and portions of New England. We're talking about maybe 2 inches of snow in Boston by the time this is all said and done. No snow at all in Ohio. That's where we expect to potentially see some thunderstorms as a result of this storm system. Now, let's move over here to the west a little bit and talk about this unusual and dangerous setup for the California coast tomorrow. that goes beyond just rain. We've been talking about this for a couple of days, but we actually have the real threat for obviously some flash flooding and some heavy snow in the higher elevations, but also we have a rare threat for severe weather tomorrow over here in California. We are looking at the potential for waterspouts moving onshore as tornadoes and damaging wind gusts over 60 miles per t. So it's not going to be surprising to me at all if we see tornado warnings down around Los Angeles tomorrow. You can see this swirling low pressure system here throwing bands of moisture and organized thunderstorms, maybe even mini supercells right up into Los Angeles as we go into tomorrow evening. And then the rain's just going to continue for quite some time after that. It's kind of like a 1-2 punch here. You can see that the first one is going to hit the northern part of the state and then swing through the southern part of the state. And then we have another kind of cold blast of air that comes down along with some additional Pacific moisture. That's just going to add insult to injury if you're in a burn scar or something like that with flooding. So get ready for that strong low-level jet that's going to crank up the wind shear along the boundary, creating a spin cycle effect that can rotate storms coming off the ocean. And that is exactly why the Storm Prediction Center has a marginal risk of severe weather down here for San Diego, Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, all the way up here into the Sacramento Valley as well. Interstate 5 is included in this, so get ready. I really do think some people are going to be surprised by the intensity of some of these storms tomorrow. We've had stronger atmospheric rivers over here within the past 12 months, but this one's going to be unique in its ability to produce those supercells and potential tornadoes. So be on the lookout for that. Don't be scared, be prepared. Just have a way of knowing what you're going to do whenever that tornado warning potentially comes through. And of course, on top of all the rain and the potential severe weather, we're going to be talking about snow totals over 30 to 40 inches on top of some of these mountains. Now, a lot of this is happening up where people don't live, right way up on the mountain peaks. We're talking about some potential snow totals over 8 feet. But yeah, 30 to 40 inches is going to be possible above 6,000 feet here. There's a couple of roads up there. So travel's going to be tough if you're trying to cross through the mountains, so plan around that over the next several days. It's going to be tough over here in the Sierra. Now let's zoom out and do a quick run through everything. First of all, our storm system over here is going to get out of our hair tonight into the early morning hours tomorrow. It still looks like we might get a dusting of snow up here around New York City, Philadelphia. We're still talking about maybe an inch or two. It's really no big deal. We've got some severe weather going on right now in Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida. That'll be out of our hair by the time you watch this video, more than likely. Next big thing to watch is, of course, the atmospheric river situation on the West Coast. That's going to bring rain and snow to not only California, but also Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Nevada, Utah, and that's going to continue to be something that we watch over the next several days. Wednesday. The main story is going to be this big stripe of snow up here in Canada, from North Dakota and Minnesota down into southern New England. And remember, in the interim here, I do think that Wednesday, we might have some severe weather to talk about, potentially between Chicago and Detroit. What happens after that, though? Anything interesting? There is another little storm system that tries to get going as we go into the weekend. Saturday, February 21st, has an interesting little system here that could become more of a snow story. Other than that, things look pretty quiet, but you can see I'm scrolling through here, and there's no major organized systems popping up on the GFS, which is actually pretty surprising. Usually there's some eye candy for weather lovers if you go far enough out in the GFS, but on this run there's really nothing. Hopefully we have a less active weather period to talk about over the next little bit. The contrast between what we're experiencing now and what's coming is absolutely remarkable. While some areas are dealing with record-breaking warmth that feels more like April than February, other regions are preparing for significant snow and ice. This kind of weather whiplash is becoming the signature of winter 2026. The atmospheric dynamics creating this wild weather pattern are fascinating. The jet stream has buckled into an extreme configuration that's allowing tropical-like air to surge northward while simultaneously creating opportunities for severe weather in places that rarely see it during winter months. What makes this week particularly interesting is the timing. We're in mid-February, traditionally one of the coldest times of the year, yet we're looking at the possibility of severe weather across multiple regions. The combination of extreme warmth, atmospheric rivers, and winter storms all happening simultaneously is creating a meteorological spectacle. The false spring we're experiencing is going to have cascading effects throughout various sectors. Tourism industries could see unexpected surges in typically slow February periods. Outdoor recreation could extend well beyond normal seasons. But the flip side is that this warmth is going to make the eventual return of cold air even more shocking to the system. Agricultural implications are significant as well. Plants and trees could begin budding prematurely, making them vulnerable to late-season cold snaps. Wildlife could emerge from winter behaviors early, only to face harsh conditions when the pattern inevitably shifts back. Energy markets are experiencing unusual volatility as demand patterns shift rapidly. Utilities that were prepared for typical February heating loads are now dealing with much lower demand in some areas while preparing for potential cooling needs in others. The severe weather threat in California is particularly noteworthy because it's so rare for this time of year. When the atmosphere becomes this unstable during winter months, it creates conditions that can support tornadic activity in places that might not see such weather for years at a time. Emergency management officials across multiple states are dealing with the challenge of preparing for completely different types of hazards simultaneously. Winter weather preparations in the north, severe weather readiness in unusual locations, and flood planning along the west coast all happening at once. This wild weather week is setting the stage for what could be an equally dramatic pattern change as we head into the final week of February. The fall spring won't last forever, and when it ends, the transition could be just as extreme as what we're experiencing now. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. This is going to be one of those weeks that people remember for a long time. I'll see you in the next one.